Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Getting the Win show. Happy Wednesday, my winners and goal getters. I am your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully. If you can hear me, put a yes in the chat, put a I can hear you, all the things. I just want to make sure all my stuff is functioning well, all my levels are good, all of that fun stuff. So just let me know if you can hear me. Just put that in the chat. I just want to make sure my stuff is working. But as you saw in the title, this is a safe space moment. Okay. Like today's episode, I wanted to go live because there's a lot going on. The heaviest thing on my mind that I wanted to be sure to discuss or allow a safe space for, allow containment for, is for anybody that's watching this that either is in Jamaica or knows somebody that's there, in the aftermath of the other Melissa, the one that is not me, okay? The one with one L. Everybody's been like hitting me up these past couple of days, like, "Hey, I hear you messing around in the Caribbean." It ain't me. I'm in the U.S. I'm behaving myself, okay? But I wanted to, come live today, not only to provide a safe space for my peoples that want to share in the chat, what they've been hearing or experiencing as it relates to Hurricane Melissa, or any questions that you might have. If you've been rocking with the show for a while and you've always had some questions that maybe are in the comments, or maybe you haven't had the opportunity to ask before, by all means, drop them in the comments, drop them in the chat. Okay, I am here and I am open. So as far as a topic that is connected to what's going on with Hurricane Melissa and its aftermath. Firstly, for those who have been asking, who've been hitting me up and asking, thank you so much for asking about how my family's doing so far. As far as I know, my folks down there are safe. They did sustain some weather damage, but they're okay for the most part. So a lot of my folks are, for the most part, towards the east. I do have some family that are closer to that west coast, which is where Melissa hit. But as far as I know, those folks are safe and okay, to my knowledge. So thank you guys for asking. Hit me up in the DMs and on the phone. And of course, for those of you who've been following the show and you have fallen in love with LDH, L. David Harris, my coach, and who's also a publisher, so definitely an expert in the publishing field, he is also okay. He's in Jamaica as well. He is also safe and well. He and his family are good. So definitely thank you guys. But today I wanted to kind of talk about the importance of taking a moment like this and converting that, transmuting it into a book. Because you might be like, okay, I have undergone a trauma or transition. I've navigated that. I've lost somebody. Maybe your transition is grief. Your transition is loss. So you're probably like, okay, how would I turn that into a book? How would I leverage this in a way that is productive for the world? How do I convert it into a hashtag luxury item, right? How do you transform it? So in a situation like this, obviously it's going to be, the book won't be top of mind. Your recovery, right, would be top of mind. So if the loss is fresh, in this case, like Hurricane Melissa, then obviously recovery is the first thing. We want to make sure that you are healed and whole. So that would be the first step, right? Let's navigate, let's fully navigate the loss. If you're already through that first step and you've been told that you should write a book about what you've experienced, you've had the inkling in your soul about possibly turning this into a book, but you're not sure about it. You're welcome, by the way, Rosalie. Thank you so much for putting your comments. She said thank you for your kind words, and absolutely, you know what I'm saying. Like this is home for me. This is personal for me. But I also wanted to create something helpful for those who would be going through something like this, or who may be wondering how to turn it into something valuable for the rest of the world, there are two key things here, both of which, if you watch the show, you will have heard already because I talk about them often. And I talk about them often because they're both very valuable in the recovery process and in the authorship process. So, number one, having a who, which this particular episode is a demonstration of that. I am your who in today's case. If you have something that you're navigating or you need a sounding board, you need somebody to vent to, you need what's called containment. That's the actual therapy term. Someone to offer you containment where maybe you don't need to or want to sound deep about something. Like, this actually sucks. You know what I mean? Like somebody that you can simply speak plainly to without having to worry about judgment, or in some cases, without even having to think about a solution yet. Because while I am the procrastination bully, I am a coach at heart, there are times where we don't necessarily need a solution. We just need a pair of ears. And that is what I've always been. Like long before I gained the language, long before I gained the coaching and became a certified extreme execution emotional intelligence coach. Like I always provided containment. Like from as far back as I can remember, I've always been a listener. So that's number one. Find your who. Find your somebody who can provide you containment. Ideally, containment and solutions, both. But even if not solutions yet, definitely find you somebody that can offer containment. Yes, Amazli, comforting. Absolutely. Like find somebody that's comforting. Because once you get the words off your chest, then your mind will clear, your body will regulate, which will allow your mind to clear. And then you can start getting into thinking about solutions, right? So that's number one, find yourself a who. And then number two, to go with it, is journaling. If you've been watching the show often, you've heard me talk about journaling and how important that is. Okay. So there is power in writing your words on the page, not typing them. I wouldn't recommend that because it's not as therapeutic as writing them. Voice recording them can partially help because you're still talking. So even if you're not talking to a person, you're at least speaking the words out loud that you need to express. So there's still a comfort there. There's still a catharsis with that. But I would say the importance of doing both of those. Okay. You start off with both of those as you're navigating the trauma or transition. In this case, for this episode, I'm talking about grief and loss. So having your who to vent to and having pages to write on, locking your feelings on a page. Having both of those things will be transformative for you. This next part, number three, is how we will leverage what you've experienced in your grief or loss into a book. Because you might be wondering that, like, okay, I've heard you talk about journaling, but so far you haven't helped me understand how to turn my journal entries into a book. Awesome. I got you here. So the beauty with already having journal entries, or once you start doing that is now content that will always belong to you. You were venting at the time, right? Like when you write your journal entries, you're venting. But once it's written, it is officially your IP. It is officially intellectual property. It is content that you can repurpose for anything you want. You can take snippets out of your journal entries and turn them into social media posts if you want to, especially if they're motivational in nature. Maybe you're getting divine downloads that are amazing, even as you're venting on the pages. And you can share those divine downloads with people. That's content. You can take the written thing if you want to, use your AI tools and parlay that into a script if you're somebody that prefers to do video. So you can turn your journal entries into video content. That's an avenue for you. Or since it's already written, then just digitize it. Like, you can scan if you have a scanner. Not all of us do, and that's okay. You can take photos of it with your phone, because that's also an option. Even if you don't possess a scanner or like a 3-in-1 printer or whatever, that's okay. If you've written your journal entries, you can digitize them by either taking pictures with your phone or reading them and recording your reading, because that becomes audio. And there are plenty of transcriber apps on the internet. Or, as I've been sharing, use the voice to text function in either Microsoft Word, in Pages if you're an Apple user, or in Google Docs. There are plenty of ways of getting your words digitally on a page, so then you can really start turning them into a book. So that's step one would be getting them on the page, right? Step two would be to digitize them, because that first step, getting them on a page, is for you to heal, which is always the more important part. But in terms of digitizing, you have all those options in front of you. You can take the picture with your phone and use an app online that can then turn your images into text. There are plenty of apps that can convert images to PDFs. And then from there, you can convert the PDF into a Word doc or convert the image to a Word document. There are online tools that can do that for you. Or you can voice record and then go into any of your word processors and use that dictate function, the voice to text function, and then press play, and then your recording will show up on your page, your digital page. Once you have your content on the page, you can organize your ideas from there. That's one approach in terms of converting it into a book. You can get all the content onto the page first and then organize your ideas from there. Or, if you so choose, you can strategize before you digitize. I'm going to say that again because that was a bit of a bar. You can strategize before you digitize if you want to. So, say, for instance, you're in that first step. You've done the healing. You've spoken to your who or your who's, plural, right? And you've been journaling through the process. And as it relates to grief, there is no shortcut through them 5 stages. You're going through all 5 of them. It takes as long as it takes. For anybody that's been rocking with the show, you know that is a procrastination bullyism. It takes as long as it takes. Some of us are more resilient than others because we may be wired in that way, but not everyone is. So allow yourself the grace. And as I shared in a previous episode that I learned from Tim Ross, who recently experienced grief in 2024, make a deal with your grief. Make a deal with your loss, to say, you know what? Whenever you show up, I will honor you. I will give you the space and time to simply express. Because what a lot of us do, especially living in highly competitive capitalistic societies like the US, we'll tamp it down and say, never mind, suck it up and deal. I got to go to work. I got to make this money. I got to take care of my family. I gotta. The issue with smothering that sort of stuff is whatever you mute at the time that you're feeling it is going to eventually leak out anyway. People are going to notice it. And it's likely going to leak out in a way that is potentially harmful for the people around you. And after a while of leaking, then there will be an explosion or an implosion, which is what I dealt with. You guys have heard me talk about my journey with depression back when I was burnt out. So that's the other form that unhonored grief will take. It'll show up in the form of burnout, which is implosion. Because at that point, you're so suppressed that your body starts to manifest that stress. So make a deal with your grief, make a deal with your loss, to say, you know what? Whenever you show up, I will allow you to be. If that means you got to remove yourself from the room, if that means you just let the tears drop, Folks around you might wonder, are you okay? What's wrong? You may not have the words to express in the moment, and that's okay. Give yourself that grace to know that that's okay. Okay. And I'm opening this live episode here to let you know that that's okay as well. Like, I am listening. Feel free to jump in the chat, whatever it is you have questions about, whatever you want to express, by all means. I am here and I am listening, right? Because, hey, any hurricane that's coming at you at 185 miles an hour sucks. Like, let's speak plainly about that. We don't need to sound deep or diplomatic about it. That sort of thing sucks. You know what I'm saying? So I am here to give you containment. It never fails. It will manifest in many ways. You're absolutely right, Rosalie. It will manifest in many ways. Sometimes that grief or that loss will manifest in anger. Sometimes it manifests in tears. Sometimes it'll manifest in a breakdown or an anxiety attack or panic attack. You never know. You never know. And it's important to allow your body the release that it needs. I hear you, Miss Sonia. I hear you. I'm here feeling stressed with Hurricane Melissa. Total devastating. Yeah. And I get it. And I wanted to honor you as well, because I know you're at ground zero. Like, not on the West Coast, but I know you're there. You're in Jamaica, you're seeing it. So thank you for, sharing your feelings. Thank you for sharing how you're doing. I'm here to give you containment and, let you guys know that you are loved. And yes, you are in our thoughts and prayers. I get it. Like, here in the US, people they attack that phrase because they say it sounds weak because it's not action. The truth of the matter is, some of us are in a position where we can't do anything outside of possibly donating to a nonprofit that can. That is our way of sending our love or taking our action. But let's not ever underestimate the power of sending prayers to people who need them. For those of us who are believing folks, those of us who are spiritual people, let's not weaken or devalue or invalidate the power of prayer. Okay. Those of us who can do something will. You know what I mean? If we have the ability to join a team that's going to mobilize and go to Jamaica to help, by all means, that's going to happen. But for those of us who can't do that, we'll put our money where our mouth is. We'll help that way, because nothing moves without funding. By the way, you're very welcome, Miss Sonia. Thank you so much. Nothing moves without funding. You guys, I had Guy Holly on, who is the last grant guy you'll ever need, and he knows this. He's the guy that helps people get the grant funding that they need. But yeah, coming back to leveraging your grief or a loss into a book, like turning that around. Recapping, make sure you have a who, make sure you're journaling. That way you're getting all of this out of your body, especially in the beginning. And then, of course, making that deal with your grief and your loss to say, I will honor you when you choose to express yourself. No judgment, no suppression. If I need to leave my seat, leave my workstation to go to the bathroom, I'll do that. If the tears come without my knowing that they're going to come, that's fine. I'll let them fall for as long as they need to without judging myself. I'll be open with the people I'm around. If the people I'm around are not safe, I will remove myself from the situation as soon as I can. Okay? But make that deal to honor your grief. And then strategize. Say that 5 times fast. Strategize before you digitize. If you're someone that is more pragmatic, come up with your strategy for the content in your journals you want to use before you digitize the content, or digitize first. If you're more of a fast mover, you might be a visual person, so you want to see the words on the page before you do anything with them. Maybe you have to see the words on the page before you do anything with them. That's cool. You can digitize first and then ask around, because if you're somebody that moves fast and maybe you're somebody that's visual, organizing your thoughts on the page might require some support. You might need the help of someone who is more detail oriented and thinks a bit more slowly than you do, more methodically than you do, to organize your thoughts. Somebody like me, somebody who's an editor, you know what I mean? Or someone in your circle that you know is more detail oriented than you and can help you organize your ideas. That can be a game changer for you. Hey, Miss Laverne, how you doing? Shout out to you. I love the spirit there. Love it. Getting a W day. You know what I mean? I like it. So happy Wednesday to you, Laverne. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are always here. I appreciate you. So yeah, in terms of getting these ideas on the page, the way that I would recommend you start to organize those thoughts is to go through them, go through your journal entries, and decide, like, notice the pattern in them, because that's the beauty of us as human beings. We can recognize patterns easily, and we tend to be creatures of habit anyway. So read through your journal entries and you'll start to pick up on a pattern in your entries. There may be some that you can then cluster together in a common category. So those common categories, whether that ends up being maybe 2, maybe 3, even 4, depending on how many journal entries you have going on in your journal, or journals, plural. If you can cluster them up into about 4 or 5 categories, those are book sections. And then the specific journal entries within each of those categories can be chapters. And then from there, once you digitize that information, you can then supplement it with your AI tools. Because remember, in a previous episode, I talked about an outline or a layout for each chapter that will keep your reader engaged. I mentioned opening with a hook. And then the next 2 sections, you can choose the order in which you do them. It can be a story, then a lesson, or a lesson and then a story. And then your takeaways, and then a hook that transitions into the next chapter, a transition statement into the next chapter. So you've got, say, for instance, 1 journal entry. I'll use this hurricane as the example, Hurricane Melissa. The loss here would be property damage. Unfortunately, as is the case with any hurricane, whether in Jamaica or in the US, Florida's, hello, like, we're no stranger to hurricanes at all. November 1st is when our hurricane season officially ends. So we're no stranger to hurricanes. Unfortunately, sometimes the loss that is suffered in a hurricane is a person. Unfortunately, hurricanes do claim casualties. So in this situation, in this example, perhaps 1 chapter, 1 journal entry is you expressing your grief at the loss of that person. So given the layout that I'm talking about, perhaps the lesson you're sharing from the loss of that person is taking their impact with you and how you can carry their impact on you and spread it to other people, or taking the lessons that that person taught you and sharing it with other people. So that's the lesson. Your story would be the way you experience that person. And then your takeaway section would be a series of questions that you would then ask the reader. Like, who's somebody important in your life? What impact have they had on you? And then that last question would be, how do you plan to implement the impact that they've had on you? How do you plan to share their impact with other people in your life? And then your transition statement. This was a tough chapter, and in the next chapter, it gets better, or something like that. Like, that's an example. You know what I mean? So, yeah, this is a great way to take a loss or journal content and leverage it into a book. I hear you, Miss Rosalie. Thank goodness we're coming to the end with no major issue. God is good. Yeah. So she's talking about hurricane season here in Florida. Like, November 1st is in like 4 days. So, like, we have had a relatively benign hurricane season. Shout out to Laverne. Thank you so much. I love and enjoy your guidance so much. Very informative. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, this is how you can leverage this kind of thing into a book, into IP that you can then convert and use in any way that you want to impact other people for the rest of your life. Because in the same way that the internet is permanent, your IP is permanent. If it's just your journals, no shade to that. If you choose to keep that personal and never share that with anyone, that alone will have been helpful and healing for you. So, by all means, still implement that step. But the beauty of converting that into a book is that now it's irrevocable. A journal can potentially be lost, or once you pass away, could potentially be destroyed. Whatever gems you learned, whatever divine downloads you got, would be lost if that journal is lost. But if you convert that and leverage it into a book, that's permanent. It can be ordered from anywhere once you make it available to everybody. It can be ordered from Amazon, from Barnes and Noble. If you do the audio version, it'll be available on Audible at all times, and any other audiobook market that's out there. If you do that, if you make your audiobook available on those platforms, the lessons you learn will become permanent and repeatable and outlast you, which is ultimately the goal anyway. As Lisa Nichols puts it, for a lot of us, we might fear death, but the point she made is we're not really afraid of dying. We're afraid of leaving this world before the world really gets our fingerprint, before they really feel our breath, before we fulfill our purpose. And I'll be honest with you, when she put it that way, that was clarifying for me. That's what my struggle is with it. Like, I very much enjoy my life, so I do have a fear of dying. But to her point, I do want to make sure that I fulfill my purpose while I'm here. Because it would really suck to have lived, my life and then not accomplish what God put me here to do. By the way, Miss Rosalie, you are correct. 2 days. She said 2 days. Don't add. You. I hear you. By the way, let me know in the chat if you bear with me. My internet was acting up a little bit, but yeah, just real quick. I don't know where I cut off, but I did want to make sure to honor Miss Rosalie's comment down there. She said 2 days, don't add any more. That is hilarious and correct. So there's that. But Let me. Oh, I do believe some folks were saying I'm good. Just let me know. Like, type it in the chat though, so I can see it. Like, just let me know that you guys can still hear me. But I was essentially wrapping up though. Like, this lesson was nice and brief in terms of leveraging a grief or a loss into something that is permanent and that can last and can have impact on those beyond you, making impact in a way that can outlast you, and to provide, of course, containment for what is going on out there. Thank you so much, Miss Laverne. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to provide a safe space here for you guys to share your feelings about what's going on with the other Melissa with the 1L. Yeah, thank you, Miss Rosalie. Appreciate you. Yeah, providing the safe space, that containment for what was going on with Melissa with the 1L. Don't blame me, y'all. I was here. I was good. I was being obedient. Um, and how to leverage this sort of grief or loss into a book. You know what I mean? Or whatever the luxury item is, because I'm still a procrastination bully. So even if you don't want to turn the grief or loss into a book, by all means, you can still leverage your venting to the person, your venting in the journal to something that is permanent and can impact hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe even millions of lives, whether you're here or long after you're gone. Never let a good crisis go to waste. I learned that from my coach, E.T. the hip hop preacher. Never let a crisis go to waste, or never let a good crisis go to waste. Okay? And don't worry, like, today's episode is not the last time that I'll be talking about processing grief and loss. We'll come back to that. I recently did an episode where I spoke with Dr. Travis Dion Brock about his grief and how he was able to leverage that into purpose. Thanks, Ms. Rosalie. She said I could attest to that. She's good. Yeah. So, like, we will definitely come back to this. We will definitely talk some more about this in future episodes and how to convert this into something that is impactful that will outlast you. Because we want to make sure that the world feels our imprint. That way we don't have to fear dying. We can fulfill our purpose while we're here. We can get the flowers while we're here. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, in between time though, thank you guys so much for chiming in the chat. Thank you for allowing me to be your safe space, for sharing your thoughts about what's been going on, in Jamaica. I love you guys. And again, my thoughts and prayers are indeed with you guys down there. However, I can contribute, I will. I can't physically be there right now, but I will contribute in any way that I can from up here so that the folks in Jamaica can get the help that they need. Bonus, as I'm talking about this just occurred to me. Divine download. The divine download. My Wi-Fi is acting up a little. Let me know if you guys can see and hear me. But use them of loss or grief to serve. That's the other thing. I'll say it again. The Wi-Fi decides to behave. Looks like it's still sticking. Let me know if you guys can see or hear me. Things are freezing a bit on my end. But anyway, the bonus is use the time to serve. If you're grieving, use the time to serve. Okay? But in the meantime and between time, yeah, I'm hearing that I froze. But yeah, use the time to serve when you're grieving as well. Okay? In the meantime and between time, though, I'm going to hop off before my stuff causes any more issues. So, yeah. Love you guys always. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tune in next Wednesday. I will have an interview for you guys. You will not want to miss this interview, okay? So if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that on YouTube at Getting the Win and subscribe so you get all the notifications where I will have an interview next week. You will enjoy it. It will be awesome. So in the meantime, between time, have a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week. Peace and love.